Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all verities and realities of existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty, for yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every day and yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day, writes the ancient Indian poet Kalidasa. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. My pronouns are he, him, one of the ministers serving this religious community with my colleagues, the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin and Archine Turner, and our summer minister, Dana Edwards. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are, whatever your beliefs, your gender identity or expression, immigration status, or life circumstance, we welcome you. A special welcome to all of our siblings from River Road, Arlington, All Souls, and Fairfax, and other UU congregations who are joining us for worship. If you are new with this morning, please let us know. And if you feel comfortable, we invite you to fill out the newcomer form that is included in the chat. Our pastoral visitors are an extension of the ministry team. They are available in the chat today to support you. I have a few announcements. Have you heard about the Cedar Lane Marketplace? A new way to create connections and build community. Visit clm.cedarlane.org to learn more, to join, and to build community. Our journey up the Potomac continues next Sunday as we join our River Road siblings to explore what it means to be good, to do good, to choose something for good on behalf of the greater good. From the Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd. This service will be shared live via YouTube at 10 a.m. from various sacred spaces in the River Road building. Please note the time change. The Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, joined by dozens of partners including the UUA, has launched a season of nonviolent direct action to save our democracy, to demand that the Senate end the filibuster, pass all provisions of the For the People Act, fully restore the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Tomorrow, July 19th, on the 173rd anniversary of the Women's Convention in Seneca Falls, let us join women from across the nation and allies who will be marching together from the U.S. Supreme Court at 11 a.m. to demand change. Over 100 women, including our summer minister Dana Edwards, will be engaging in nonviolent direct action. Let us now hear from Roz Pellis, Executive Director of Repairers of the Breach, who gave a powerful call to witness at last week's press conference that announced the season of action.
On July 19th, 100 women will raise these demands. The action comes on the anniversary of the Seneca Falls Convention. At that convention, 173 years ago, women demanded social justice, the right to participate in democracy, and the right to economic security. That's right. Unfortunately, today, these are still our demands.
That's right. Yes.
In the spirit of the Seneca Falls Convention and the concrete conditions of today, we will take to the streets with these demands. We will march on Washington.
Yes. That's right. That's right.
On that day, 100 women representing millions of women across this country will gather. We will make our voices heard. These women will be joined by others, men and women, who will stand and witness to the actions they did in Seneca Falls.
Yeah.
Again, drawing on the spirit of the Convention of 1848, where 100 people signed the Declaration of Sentiments, which summed up their demands, the women taking the demands on the 19th will release our own set of demands, our demands of today. This, however, will be more than a statement. It will be a commitment to the struggle for democracy, equality, and economic justice for women and for all people. This statement and action will be a reminder to all those who stand on the wrong side of history that you will not and cannot prevail. It will declare that women joining hands with others will continue our struggle for rights. It will say to those who seek to block progress and attack democracy that the women are coming. The women are coming. The women are coming to Washington, D.C., and the women are coming to your states across this country. On July 19th, women will take action in Washington. We will continue with our struggle together with all people who stand on the right side of history, and will seek to make real the promise of this country. From this day forward, we will go forward together and join hands and not take one step back.
As we enter this time of reflection and remembrance, celebration, connection, and community, we acknowledge that we gather as Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church on the traditional land of the Nacotchtank people, from which the name Anacostia is derived. They were part of a group of tribes, the Piscataway. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have protected it through the generations. We remember those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward. And we remember all who have gone before us, whose vision and labor helped create and sustain this religious community. In this spirit, we gather. In this spirit, we begin. Come, let us worship together.
We who now gather know each as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Fran Pflieger, your worship associate this morning. My pronouns are she, her. As I read our chalice lighting words, I invite you to share in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from. As the kindling of this chalice calls us to community, let there be light. As the flame of this chalice reminds us of our values, let there be light. As the glow of this chalice encourages us to hope, let there be light. Let there be light. May it warm our hearts, nurture our spirits, today and throughout our lives.
Hi, everyone. As we consider today what it means to be spiritual and religious, I invite you to consider what role community plays in our spirituality and in our religion. And I wonder what an umbrella might have to do with being spiritual and religious in community. And I wonder if we can fit all of beloved community under one blessed and beautiful umbrella. Let's find out. The Big Umbrella by Amy June Bates, co-written with Juniper Bates. By the front door, there is an umbrella. It is big. It is a big, friendly umbrella. It likes to help. It likes to spread its arms wide. It loves to give shelter. It loves to gather people in. It doesn't matter if you are tall or hairy or plaid. It doesn't matter how many legs you have. Some people worry that there won't be enough room under the big umbrella. But the amazing thing is, there is always room. The end.
Each time we gather for worship, we set aside time to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. We lift up those in our community who are living through significant passages, the small and extraordinary milestones of life. Our hearts are with those whose primary spiritual practice is parenting in a pandemic. We hold in our circle of caring those who live with grief or chronic pain, with illnesses seen and unseen, with mental illnesses or addiction, those who care for family members in ill health, those who are experiencing job loss, financial insecurity. Within our Cedar Lane community, we mourn the passing of longtime member Cherry Wunderlich on July 10th. Our hearts are with her husband, John, her two sons and their families in this time. And we hold in our hearts Bonnie Tyler, who is now in hospice care in Brooklyn, New York. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost or impacted by violence, calamities, and the COVID pandemic in our world. May these friends of ours, our companions in the world, and all that lives unspoken in our hearts, be held in the embrace of prayer and by a love that will not let us go.
I invite you into a moment of prayer and reflection and quiet contemplation. Let's start by centering ourselves and our bodies, by breathing in, and holding it for a moment, and breathing out, feeling the release of the out breath through our head down to our feet. Let's breathe in one more time. Hold it and breathe out, feeling the release in our bodies, releasing the tension of the day and the week as we pray together. Spirit of life and love, Spirit of all that is holy, we come to you today with our hearts filled with gratitude for our community and the connections we make together. We come to you today knowing that imperfection is where you are found, within ourselves, around us, and also in between us. We feel you in the cracks. We feel you in the wrinkles. We feel you in our own crookedness. Spirit of light and love, Spirit of all that is holy and sacred, we invite you to heal us, to be with us, to be a cooling balm on those rough edges. And stay with us throughout this week as we feel you from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet. In your name we pray. Amen.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
I know this rose will open.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose will open.
Over the years, I've had many conversations with folks who are new to Unitarian Universalism, including interfaith couples who are planning weddings. And if I were to come up with a composite refrain from all these conversations, it would go something like this. I consider myself spiritual, but not religious. I'm not sure about joining your church because I really do not like organized religion. And I'm really not sure about believing in God. Now, I find it somewhat challenging to respond to these rather defensive affirmations. And at times I'm tempted to assure them that joining a UU congregation, would not really affect their perfect record as a non-religious, non-joining, non-believer. But I don't, because I don't want to sound snarky. And because I know it will eventually, because when people join a UU congregation, they grow and change and become religious, whether they recognize it or not. More on that later. An increasing number of people identify themselves today as spiritual but not religious. According to a 2017 Pew survey, 27% of US adults say they think of themselves as spiritual but not religious, up 8 percentage points in the last 5 years. And the growth of spiritual but not religious people has come mainly at the expense of those who say they are both religious and spiritual, which is down by 11 percentage points in 5 years. Now, the numbers may be significantly higher today. But as columnist Tina Dupai observes, when it comes to self-reporting religious devotion, Americans cannot be trusted. We underestimate our calories, overstate our height, underreport our weight, and when it comes to piety, we lie like a prayer rug. But I understand what people mean when they say they are spiritual but not religious. They mean that they do not want to be part of a religious body of prescribed beliefs, doctrines, dogmas, and rituals, perhaps because they found them restrictive or oppressive. They might say they are spiritual but not religious because they were never exposed to a religious community growing up, making them wary and skeptical of all of them. Or because they find spiritual meaning and purpose outside organized religious systems, like, for example, in the writings of people, spiritual teachers like Thich Nhat Hanh or Richard Rohr or Pema Chodron, even if some of these folks happen to be grounded in their own religious or spiritual traditions, like Buddhism or Christianity. Or they have discovered their spiritual essence communing with poets like Rumi or Hafiz or Tagore or Dickinson or Angelou or Walker or Oliver, who speak eloquently of the life of the Spirit and point the way about how to live that life in this world. Or some say they're spiritual but not religious because they find more meaning, inspiration, and truth in nature rather than at church. Whatever the source that nourishes their spirit, I know it can be transformative, sustaining, and meaningful. So I get it when people say, I am spiritual but not religious. But there is a tension between spirituality and religion, an either-or approach that need not exist. Normally speaking, these two should be natural allies because it is not easy to conceive of a religion without spirituality. And while it is true that religion tends to mean an organized and structured communal experience based on a set of ideals, beliefs, and rituals, it is also true that a religious concern for the world is derived in and through its primary engagement with the Spirit. And while it is true that spiritual might mean an individual personal journey, it is also true that the spiritual life can be nurtured and sustained within the realm of an organized religious community. So one can be spiritual and religious. So today I want to explore what I understand spiritual and religious to be within the context of Unitarian Universalism, and invite you to reflect more deeply about your own understandings. First, spirituality. Spirituality in my dictionary means to live the ordinary life extraordinarily well. It is about being awakened from our slumber, our inertia, to life again and again. It is about living life fully, reverently, joyously, and in the moment, as if it were our only moment. Now, let me share a familiar Zen story that illustrates this point. A monk was being chased by a tiger in the forest when he trips and falls off a cliff. And as he's hanging off a branch for dear life, he notices another tiger stalking at the bottom of the ravine, ready to catch him when he falls. And just then, he notices this small mouse that darts out of a hole in the cliff and starts to gnaw at the branch. And at that very moment, the monk also notices a patch of wild, ripe, luscious strawberries growing from a clump of earth where he is dangling. So what does he do? He reaches out, plucks one of those strawberries, puts it in his mouth, takes a bite, and then goes, Isn't life like that? Tigers above, tigers below, a mouse gnawing away at our lifelines, and all we have is this one wild and precious strawberry moment. So, friends, it takes courage to live the spiritual life, to meet life on life's terms, to discover what life is calling us to be rather than what we feel called to do in life. But spirituality, despite its personal dimension, is something we practice together in community, in religious community. It's not a solo adventure, but a shared pilgrimage. Ernie Cortez, a well-known community organizer and disciple of Saul Alinsky, makes a telling observation. He writes, "Poverty of spirit occurs when people are alone, disconnected. In isolation, we remove ourselves from the essential core of our being, our humanity. We are human only in relationship with the universe, including its people." And to me, this is where religion comes in. So what is the meaning of religion in a Unitarian Universalist context? One of my favorite definitions of religion comes to us from the late Reverend Forrest Church, who says, religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and knowing we must die. Now, Reverend Church explains that we're not animals with complex tools or advanced language, but that we are religious animals. And knowing we must die, we question what life means. And though we may arrive at non-religious answers, he writes, to these questions, the questions we ask from a religious condition. When we ask, who am I? Whose am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What is life's purpose? What is good? What is evil? What, if anything, remains when I die? And where can I find meaning to sustain me through my days? So what does it mean then to be religious? In a Unitarian Universalist congregation, being religious does not mean fitting into a box. Most, but not all of us, consider ourselves to be Unitarian Universalists. Some of us further identify as UU Buddhist, UU Christian, UU Muslim, Jewish UU, or UU Hindu. But that isn't what makes us religious. In a UU congregation, there are many different ways of being religious. Being religious means being open-minded, not empty or closed-minded. There are way too many religions out there where people are taught to be closed-minded about the many wonderful truths that the universe has to offer. where the chief object is to conform to uniformity of belief. Whereas here, we affirm and promote that revelation is continuous, that it is not sealed, nor is it sealable. UU theologian James Luther Adams used this phrase to express the idea that ultimate truth is too vast to be contained in any specific creed, that no religion has a copyright on truth, and that answers to the great religious questions may change from generation to generation with new insights in theology, philosophy, and science. Second, being religious means to affirm and promote a pluralistic way of being. Our approach rejects the spiritual imperialism that approaches people not as persons to be respected and honored, but as territory to be captured. An acceptance of spirit for us signals an unceasing reverence for every person's inherent worth, dignity, and divinity, every person's spiritual quest and insight. Third, being religious means being committed to life after birth, or life before death. In other words, being focused on the here and now, this wild strawberry moment, lending our shoulders and hands to the work of repairing and healing this broken and beautiful world of ours. No matter what theological label we choose for ourselves, it is clear to us that our salvation is to be worked out here and now, in the company of each other, and not for the sake of some judgmental celestial peeping Tom with authority issues in some other worldly realm. Fourth, being religious means, to quote the Reverend Galen Gingrich, to live with a sense of awe and a sense of obligation. A sense of awe before the beauty and complexity of life, and even the pain, sorrow, and tragedy that we encounter through life's journey. It entails living with reverence and gratitude. And reverence evokes another aspect of what it means to be religious, a deeper awareness and connection to a life larger than our own. It is realizing that it's not all about me, or us for that matter, but that we are part of something much, much bigger. And religion at its best helps us experience that connection. And when we experience that connection, we begin to understand our obligation to serve that life by serving others, to sustain and enhance this astonishing and incredible universe of which we are a small yet integral part. Being religious means to work at it daily. We need to take our religion out of the display cabinet and into the crucible of daily life and see what it will do if given a chance. It is to cultivate what Reverend Wayne Arneson calls practices of integrity, a way to bring what we believe, what we value, closer and closer to what we do in the world every day. But most of all, being religious means not going it alone. The Latin root of religion, as we know, means to bind together, to be intertwined in our journeys, to live each day fully, ethically, compassionately, in service of one another and the earth. So, one can be spiritual and religious in a UU congregation. Because for us to be spiritual and religious means to show up each week, bringing our battered and sometimes tattered spirits to this place to be nurtured, to be lifted up, to be challenged among all these other battered and tattered spirits among us, and be engaged in the work of healing and deepening the inner space of our lives together, knowing that we are lovable and already loved, despite our frailties and foibles, knowing that here we're not alone and that we are in it together. To be spiritual and religious is to be blessed and sometimes kicked back into the world to continue the work of investing our time, our gifts, our privilege, and our lives in service of a life larger than our own. So, friends, the next time someone tells you that they are spiritual but not religious, let them know you found All Souls, River Road, Arlington, Fairfax, or Cedar Lane, where you regularly join others to learn to be spiritual in religious community, and where you have found a life-saving, life-affirming, life-sustaining religion of inclusion and compassion, resilient hope, and revolutionary love for your life, your family, and for our future together. Tell them you are spiritual and religious, and that it has made all the difference. May it be so. Amen.
Each Sunday, we receive an offering to support the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane. And we share this offering with a community organization in concert with our mission. Our offering reminds us that the act of giving is essential to our spiritual well-being, as essential as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. We are grateful for the incredible generosity of our members and friends throughout this time to support the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane and the community organizations that we have partnered with. Today, we invite you to give generously to your own congregation, or if you wish, to support Cedar Lane. You may give online, by text, using PayPal, or by mailing a check to the church. The links will be available in the chat. Thank you for your generous support. And today we share our plate with Action in Montgomery, or AIM. AIM is a multi-faith, multiracial community organization rooted in Montgomery County's neighborhoods and congregations. Cedar Lane is a founding member of AIM. Let us watch this short video to learn more about their essential work.
When I discovered what AIM was about, it responded to the passion that I had in my heart.
Cambia la autoestima al trabajar con personas que lo apoyan, lo guían y le hacen ver a uno a qué tiene derecho y a qué no tiene derecho. Ya, sirve, la verdad. Sí.
The world is in so many ways too broken and the stakes are too high to do ineffective organizing that mostly just makes us feel like we're doing something.
A lot of the time, the folks that have the political power are treated with kid gloves. But with AIM, we treat them as equals. We're all citizens, we're all equals.
Even if we don't have a good result, we always try to look how we're going to have a new strategy, how to have a good result.
And we walked out of the meeting totally depressed. And Jonathan Lang, who was then the advisor to Mark Fraley from Industrial Areas Foundation, said to us, "What did you learn? What was he saying to you?" And finally someone piped in and said, "We don't represent, when you look at the room, this county. And until we represent the county, we can't do the ask." And so we spent the next year becoming 22 congregations, and we were able to work with the county expediting, along with the state, all-day kindergarten over a number of years. It was the first really great success in 2001, 2002, along with increasing the Housing Initiative Fund.
And I remember that night asking the county executive at that time for $10 million for affordable housing. And that was a lot of money during that time.
The first and most important blessing of organizing is knowing that the people have the power, and that the people have the power to make a difference in literally every circumstance if we're organized enough.
When AIM was created, it was the second IAF organization in Maryland. We now are on the cusp of having 5 organizations, which positions us to not only deal with Montgomery County politics, but statewide. Because some things we can deal with at the county level, but there's a lot of issues that really need to be addressed at the state level. And we've got the power, we've got the opportunity, and I think that's the next stage of our growth.
Montgomery Action, yo la verdad estoy bien agradecida que haya llegado a nuestra comunidad, porque hemos hecho cambios que están a la vista.
The people that their voice are not heard, I always want to work with them to change for a better future.
Cantar una canción alegre, sing alle, alleluia. Cantar una canción alegre, sing alle, alleluia. Cantar, 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 con una voz cantar, 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 con una voz. Cantar una canción alegre, sing alle, alleluia. Cantar una canción alegre, sing alle, alleluia. Cantar, 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 con una voz cantar, 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 con una voz. Sing alleluia, alleluia, alle, alle, alleluia. Sing alleluia, alleluia, alle, alle, alleluia. Cantar una canción alegre, sing alle, alleluia. Cantar una canción alegre, sing alle, alleluia. Cantar, cantar, cantar con una voz. Cantar, cantar, cantar con una voz.
By being spiritual and religious, we strive to live into this beautiful message written on the walls of a Spanish harbor. I'm seeking God, but I do not find God. I'm seeking myself, but do not find me. But I do find my neighbor, and the three of us get on our way together. Go in peace. Go making peace. Live gently, love fiercely, and bow to the mystery.
You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've got to sing, oh Lord. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you've got to dance, oh Lord. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you've got to laugh, oh Lord. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. 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 You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout, oh Lord. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. 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 You got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
Thank you, Cedar Lane Choir, for that amazing piece, the musical blessing that you shared, and all the musicians who are part of our service today, the Cedar Lane Quartet, Dr. Jasmin Lee and Jenny Lynn Moyer. Thank you to our worship team, Dana Edwards and Fran Pflieger, and our amazing AV team, Barb Thompson, Michael McCrickard, Mike Morse, Todd Chernikoff, and Nicole Kazi, who persevered and tried and struggled and figured out all kinds of things live to make worship happen today. And to our pastoral visitors and our membership team for your ministry of presence in the live chat. And above all, I am so grateful to all of you for joining us today and for hanging in there. It was quite an experience, something that I think we will hold and remember for a while.